Come along, children. Now we're going to have a little music.
Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome back to First Cut Live. This is our very special Monday, First Cut Live edition. We are back in the house talking about all the movie news and goodies that you hear about on a weekly basis. I'm here with an amazing crew. Obviously, as always, we have RB3 in the house, but also joining us, we have Miss Geeks of Color herself. Britany is in the house. What's up, Britany?
Hey, how are you?
We are good, Britany. I'm excited to have you on for a couple reasons. Obviously, you're a big movie fan. You follow films, you follow film news, you follow all that good stuff. But at the same time, you're a fan of DC, you're a fan of Marvel, you're a fan of a variety of franchises that we can get into in this conversation because I am desperate to get into it. But first of all, how are you feeling today?
I'm good. I actually just came in from a screening for the new Fast and Furious movie, so that was something.
It was something.
Can you give us your thoughts? Can you give us your thoughts?
So I liked it better than the last one. I don't 100% know if that is saying something good because as I said, I didn't really like the last one. But this one was definitely better in my opinion. The comedy was better. I actually really liked Jason Momoa as like the bad guy. You could just tell that he was having like a lot of fun, so that was cool. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was definitely better than some of the past ones. So yeah.
RB3 mentioned before we went on that you saw Little Mermaid too.
Well, wait, I'm sorry. Before we get to that, before we leave Fast and Furious, I was going to ask, does this movie live up to the unhinged 10-minute rant that we heard together at CinemaCon from the great Vin Diesel?
I mean, thankfully for me, I escaped some of that rant because I had to go watch Joyride. So
that's right. Yeah.
But I did, hear the beginning where, he was talking about the like theater owners and executives being, soldiers on the front line. I mean, that was a lot. That was too much, probably. I feel as though in ways it lived up to his like little rant speech, whatever you want to call it. But if I'm being completely honest, I feel like the things that lived up to that was not really like things and scenes involving him. It was like the other characters. Okay. So, yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting. I know that prompt is going around Twitter right now. When did the Fast franchise like lose all reality or lose all grip on reality? What do you guys have an opinion on that, RB3?
I love these movies, so I'm never gonna be mad at them.
Oh, everyone loves it, but you can still acknowledge that.
Well, yeah, I mean,
this ain't basic reality no more.
Well, nah, I mean, of course not. I think for me, it was when Vin Diesel Hulk smashed that parking garage on top of Jason Statham, and he still survived. Fast 7, right? Yeah, Fast 7, he still survived. I'm like, what? It's crazy.
How about you, Britany?
I feel like I still watch them like just because they're there and available, but I feel like I have not totally been checked in since the sixth one. Like, I feel like everything after that has kind of been like a blur and they all kind of like mesh together. And I could not tell you what happened in 7, 8, or 9, really. It just seems like one long thing to me. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know people love these movies, man, but to be honest, I kind of fell off the train or the car, whatever you want to call it, when I want to say Fast 5 or Fast 6. Fast 7, to me, I felt the emotion mainly because of Paul Walker's death, but everything else in that movie to me was just okay. And then everything else after that, I went out of my way to not watch, full disclosure. So I miss Fast 8, 9, and then the Rock spinoff movie too. Like I pretty much just decided to skip all that, but I know people love them. I'm not going to judge you if you like these movies, obviously, because it's just a movie. But at the same time, I think I tweeted out, I think they lost all reality after Fast 5 when Vin Diesel beat The Rock in a fight. I was like, all right, this is fake.
We argued about this before. I still don't think he won that
Oh yeah,
fight.
we did.
I think that ended in a tie, but
How is that a tie if you have a freaking wrench in your hand and you're on top of the guy and you're about to blow his brains out with a wrench?
Nah. Because Vin Diesel's getting his back blown out the whole time. Pause. So.
But he ends up on top, literally on top.
Nah, it's still a tie.
Either way, Fast franchise, if you're interested in that movie, go check it out. But what I'm interested in, the next movie that I'm going to see in theaters is The Little Mermaid. What did you think of it, Britany?
Yeah, so I saw that on Monday. I think personally for me, it's one of the better Disney live action movies. It's strange because I tend to gravitate, they wouldn't be other people's favorites, but I liked the Maleficent ones. But part of the reason why I liked those was because they didn't stick to the formula of the animated one. They kind of tried to, do their own thing, tell their own story. And while Little Mermaid, for the most part, does that, where it sticks kind of to the script of the animated one, they do make some really smart and interesting changes, which made me enjoy the movie a little bit more. I don't know, I feel like it was more updated in a way because the original is from 1989, it's 2023, so I think they did a great job at kind of modernizing certain situations in the movie. That said, I really liked Halle Bailey and Melissa McCarthy as Ursula. Please do not give me any more. I mean, RB3 was at CinemaCon. He knows that we are going to see Awkwafina or hear her voice in other things, voice casting. But I would like if we don't have any more. And Daveed Diggs is my enemy number one because his Jamaican accent was not good. And I say this as someone whose dad is Jamaican. So no, I can't. I couldn't.
Wow. Crazy. Yeah. And he plays Awkwafina's, is she Flounder or is she the seagull?
She's the seagull, yeah.
Okay. And is she Awkwafina seagull? I haven't heard anything, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's just literally her voice. And I think that's the thing. It's not that she was bad or anything. It's just her voice. So trying to have a distinction from her playing the dragon in Raya and The Last Dragon to this, it's just always the same thing. So I'm just there's nothing different happening. It's just her talking essentially. And I'm why?
It's so funny because I feel like sometimes these actors, I don't know if they have a contract with Disney or something, because I'm yo, how do they appear in so many of these movies back to back to back? Like Raya, she was obviously in Shang-Chi as well. I'm yo, but to me, what most excited me about the film, obviously a lot was exciting, but the CGI to me was dope, just in the trailers, them being underwater and stuff. Obviously there's been a lot of underwater movies this year, but was it good or was it bad, how it looked visually?
I thought it was good. I know a lot of people from the trailers and clips that have been released, a lot of people were kind of being oh, it's too dark, it's too this. At least when I watched it, the only parts that were kind of dark were when they were deeper into the ocean, like Ursula's lair and things like that, which makes sense. They're not near the surface. Why would it be super bright? But anything where you would expect brightness and things like that, when they were performing under the sea, that was bright, that looked nice. So I don't know. I feel like people just were griping on this little 30-second thing. But to me, I thought it looked good. There was a couple of awkward scenes where it was CGI for whatever reason with the mermaids, and kind of a few times the face on the body kind of seemed unaligned, but they were really quick. So it's not something that was lingered on, at least. But I thought for the most part, the CGI and VFX looked good.
I kind of want to go back to Halle. How was Halle in musical numbers and in general?
So good. I really believe that she got the essence of Ariel, because I'm sure there's people that don't like original Ariel, but you're hard pressed to find someone that didn't like Jodie Benson's portrayal of the character. And I feel the same can be said for Halle. She has that same kindness of spirit, and she's a bit naive, but she's still strong and does her own thing. And I really feel Halle embodied what people enjoyed from the original animated character.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to see it. Obviously,
I was gonna say
go ahead.
one more thing. I know they're killing my man DDG on Twitter right now. So do you think that Jonah, who's the young man who plays I forget, I don't know, Prince Eric or whatever his face, yeah, is he as charming as the Twitter memes are making him out to be? Is Halle gonna leave her real life boyfriend, or what's the drama here?
I mean, if she did, I wouldn't be mad at it. Look, when they first cast him, I was like, no, I'm like animated Prince Eric. Like, I know he's a cartoon, you really can't compare, but I was, picturing that they would cast like a more of a Henry Cavill-esque kind of, person, obviously younger though. But he sold me. After I watched it, I was like, you are so cute. I'm like, just make a second movie, make the whole wedding thing and all that stuff. So I'm like, if she does leave him for Prince Eric, I wouldn't blame her. I wouldn't be mad at it. So yeah.
All right. I'm excited. I'm definitely excited to check it out. But there's a couple movies coming out that I'm definitely like, damn, already? And one of them for me is obviously Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Across the Spider-Verse. Have you guys, since you guys watch movies weeks ahead of I do, so I might as well ask you guys. You guys haven't seen anything, right? Have you guys seen it? Okay. You guys excited for it though?
Yeah, other than the clip that they showed us at CinemaCon, I haven't seen anything like the full movie or anything yet. But I'm excited for it. I really love the first one, so.
Yeah, I'm pumped for it. RB3, how are you feeling about it?
I'm hyped. I mean, everybody online, Dr. Umar went on a little rant the other day about the interracial stuff, which is, definitely interesting. It's so funny, though, because I really do think, for some reason, I'm not seeing the same kind of hype that we saw in the first movie with this film. There was a friend of mine at my old job who said that his wife worked at Sony, and I think, like, they did have to go through like some kind of rewrites or reanimation like in the process. That's why the film got delayed. So I do kind of wonder, like, is it going to live up to the same quality? It's tough to top literally one of the greatest superhero films of all time. It's tough to top that, right? When you're the sequel to that film. So we'll see how it goes, but I'm excited for it. Most excited for me is the Issa Rae's part as the pregnant Spider Woman. That to me looks super funny.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think obviously I don't think it'll live up to what the first one brought, but I do think it'll bring something unique, hopefully, and different to the Spider-Man franchise and to the Spider-Man universe. Also, if you remember, maybe just because I'm tripping, but the first one got an early screening. I went to an early screening that was only available for a time, and then the hype kind of built up. But I don't think opening was that big. I don't think the first one's box office was just that gangster in the first weekend.
It was holiday season too, November. So
yeah, I think it had good legs, but I don't remember it being that huge. So I think this one will definitely top it in box office. Hopefully, people don't have that much superhero fatigue and they can pretend this is, I don't know, an animated Disney movie or something, and go watch it like that. But either way, I'm excited for it, and obviously, after this weekend, box office is looking a little bit more hopeful because we did have Guardians 3 give a solid drop, a really solid drop with 62, I think it was 62.5 million opening second weekend, my bad, which is a 49% drop, which is the strongest drop since Black Panther is what I heard, which to me spells like really good because people were tripping when it made 114 first weekend. But now that you guys have you guys seen Volume 3 once or twice? Has anyone seen it twice?
I saw it 3 times.
3 times. Britany, once?
Not even at all yet.
You haven't seen it yet? Are you not going to watch it?
I've been toiling with just waiting until it comes to Disney Plus, only because I was not a fan of the second one. But the reason I haven't seen it was because when Disney Canada sent me the invite for it, it was conflicted with CinemaCon.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. That's why me and Dorian had to fly back that same night to get back. Yeah.
How do you not like the Guardians movies?
I really liked the first one. It actually surprised me, but the second one, I was like,
Got you. Yeah, I love them, but obviously it's a very specific thing. But it kind of leads into our main conversation for today, which is about DC stuff. I told RB3 I really want to talk about DC in general, but where the DC cinematic universe is going. And obviously, this leads into our conversation because James Gunn is now the head of DC. I want to get your brief thoughts on, first of all, the DC. Oh, go ahead.
So
RB3.
I was gonna say before we leave Guardians 3. You didn't ask my opinion on Guardians 3, man. You can't skip by me.
What do you mean, bro? We already know it, bro. You had 2 reviews.
And I mean, bro, but let me just say, for the reason why I think it held, I think it's because I think it's held in the top 5 of Marvel movies of all time. Yeah. And I think the reason why is because I would personally consider it a top 5 MCU movie, period. And I think James Gunn even kind of tweeted about how is ranking in terms of the box office ordering. And yeah, I think the indication, especially recently, like there hasn't been a lot of genuine MCU hits, especially critically and commercially. So seeing that kind of collide into something that was genuinely great, that I genuinely do believe like deserves Oscar attention, and like, you know, even people were replying like visual effects, acting, voice acting. Now to me it deserves like a best picture look, seriously, because from the soundtrack to what the story was telling, the conclusion of it was really great. So I think hopefully the box office persuades people to give this another look, to show that it's more quality than a lot of people let it on to be.
And I think part of that too. Oh, sorry.
I gotta go see it in the theater.
Yeah, see it in IMAX 3D. IMAX 3D definitely is like the way. It's some of the best 3D I've seen in a long time.
And I think part of that too is word of mouth, right? Where a lot of people might have that Marvel fatigue, might see the trailers and be like, oh man, I don't know if I can deal with like an over the top, ridiculous CGI fest again. And then the word of mouth is like, nah, bro, actually it's really good and you should check it out. Like that's an actual conversation that people are probably having all over the world and all over the country right now, where they're recommending Guardians to friends who might be a little bit tired of the same old. So yeah, I agree, RB3 for sure. But it leads into what we're getting with James Gunn now with DC, obviously now that he's the head of DC. Britany, quickly, your thoughts on what we got from the DC slate, because we talked about it a little bit beforehand, but I didn't hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hate it. Like some of the things I expected, like, the usual Batman, Superman kind of thing, a few kind of out of the box things. But I can't say that I love it. And I don't necessarily think that it was the slate itself. It was just, I feel like the lead up to it, I personally would have preferred like to go into it not knowing anything, because they created a situation where it was odd, because you had films that they're like, well, they don't fall under the current DCU, but there's going to be a couple that kind of do. So I feel like with all those unknowns, it kind of, at least for me, curbed my excitement a little bit, because I'm like, okay, but there's still these movies that haven't been released yet. So are they going to be connected? Are they not? Like, should I care about, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, or is this going to be the last time I see Jason Momoa as Aquaman? Like, so I feel like that kind of like hindered like most of my excitement. I mean, I was glad that they said there was going to be a Wonder Woman show, but it's obviously pre-Diana, I assume, existing. I'm assuming it'll lead into the, fingers crossed, the Clay version, because, I don't really like the Zeus origin story that we're going with currently. But yeah, so I was kind of like 50-50 on it.
Gotcha. I know, RB3, you hated it, right? I think that's what I remembered.
Slate? I don't mind it. I mean, I don't care. I just hope they don't get. I don't like the Batman movie. The Batman and Robin. It just feels like some little kid stuff. But I hope I just wish they would just be straightforward, like no more multiple Batmans, no more multiple. If you're gonna have one Batman trilogy, have that series. If you're gonna have one thing, have that, but let them be separate, and you don't have to have them connected to some Justice League thing. We already saw Justice League like 4 times, basically, if you count Eternals. But I mean, for me though, I mean, I'm love, James Gunn definitely like reinvigorated my faith in the DC universe, especially after Guardians 3 and after Peacemaker as well. Because for me, Peacemaker is one of my favorite shows of last year. And it showed how you could take like some deep cut, like obscure characters and make it like kind of worthwhile to some extent. So hopefully they just do that with all their characters, but also make the good ones good too. So, and obviously like there's so many like casting rumors for like what they're going to be doing going forward. Batman, Robin, or I'm sorry, not Batman, but Superman, but also Batman too. Rumors are flying out. So I don't know. It's like the way these rumors are going, I don't really know. Like after hearing more of these rumors, so I'm like, I don't know. There must be some sort of direction that they're going in that I just can't figure out. But we'll see how they wrap their mind around it.
Yeah, let's get to that. Obviously, over the weekend we saw Hollywood Reporter release an article, that they had a couple leaks about the Superman casting. Basically just people that were there and people that somewhat impressed them, right? I mean, obviously there's going to be probably 100 homies coming in for Superman, and they probably narrowed it down to like 20 or something. So these are probably some of the 20. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is the guy, or it's down to these 3 or 2 guys, or it's down to these 4 women to play Lois. But that being said, let's start with Lois, just because I feel like that to me was also interesting. The Lois one I had pulled up, and now I close it. Oh, here we go. I have Emma Mackey, Rachel Brosnan, Phoebe Divinier, and Samara Weaving. Any name in there stand out to you guys?
I mean, everybody. Not that I dislike her. I just can't picture her doing the Lois thing. Any of them other than Phoebe Diviner, I guess it's just because she was in Bridgerton. Like I can only kind of see her as that character because I haven't seen her in anything other than that. But the other actresses, I've seen them in like many other things. So, what they can do as actors. I mean, I personally, I guess it also depends on which person they pick to play Superman.
Yeah.
I like Rachel Brosnahan, but I feel like I would put her as perhaps another character that's not DC related. So I just wouldn't pick her just because I have her as a choice for other things. But I feel like, I don't know, I think my favorite one of those would be Emma Mackey, because I feel like in general as an actress, she's like really well-rounded. And I feel like she can like do the like nice Lois, but also on the flip side, be like the hard pressing journalist Lois very well. And I mean, I know the movie was not great, but Death on the Nile, I think, shows a lot of her range in terms of like, you see her angry, you see her upset, you see her like pretending to be nice, like all these kinds of things. So I feel like from those 4, she would probably be my top pick.
How about you, RB3?
For Lois,
yeah,
I like I like Rachel. I just like the fact that she's like an Emmy winner. I like when they go after people who are just a little bit more esteemed and a little bit more like something that could elevate the craft a little bit, But again, I don't know if that match with the pairing, like it really, like you said, Brittany, it really depends on the pairing. It's really more about. And again, I really don't know about her. I really haven't watched Marvelous Mrs. Mabel. I only really saw her in those couple seasons of House of Cards, so I really don't know how she is as an actress. But again, I'm just thinking, she was nominated for Emmy. She won Emmys. Like, that'd be good. But also, I'm not going to lie. Samara Weaving, pronouncing that name right?
Samara Weaving, yeah.
Samara Weaving, yeah, she's really fun. I really love seeing her pop up and stuff. Even the little part she played in Scream 6. She pops up in a lot of things lately. Obviously, Ready or Not was one of my favorite films. In 2019. So I would like to see her as well as Lois. But again, it really all depends.
Yeah, I also want to point out the one of the guys that was getting a lot of attention for Clark or for Superman is David Corensett, which is I think from a Netflix show, from what I read. And then there was a couple other actors, Tom Brittany and Andrew Richardson, who are British actors.
Jacob from Euphoria.
Yeah, apparently that's a false flag. Apparently that's not a thing.
It is.
Yeah, hopefully, because I'm not down with that at all. But of those three guys, are you guys familiar with any of those three? No. Or the top guy, David Corenswet?
Never heard of him.
I've seen the David Corenswet guy in the Netflix show that he's on, or movie, whatever it was, I can't recall. And I don't hate the idea. I feel like look-wise, it fits, but there's just something about it that also kind of screams lazy casting. It was like, oh, well, if we hold up this picture of the comic book and this guy, okay, they're close. So like, yay, let's just like, that's the only thing that I don't like about it. It's like almost too on the nose, which I guess in hindsight, you could kind of argue that with Henry Cavill, like he literally looks like Superman, but I don't know. With Henry Cavill, even though, we didn't get to see him in like, too like much in my opinion, like he never got that full like rounded proper trilogy kind of, but I don't know, there was something kind of more endearing about Henry Cavill, so I kind of like, I was like, who cares if it's like super on the nose because he's great, but I don't know, I'm not super sold on the Corenswet.
Yeah, I mean, I have the hottest take. I think it's so flaming hot that I can't even tweet it. I'd be buried. I've already been buried all week, but whatever. I just got to get it off my chest. And obviously you two are the perfect two to play therapist for me. But RB3, I think you're on mute, by the way. But I saw the casting leaks, right? The same ones you saw, the same one I'm reading out right now. And I reread the DC slate and I was like, I kind of noticed a trend, and I'm gonna just be upfront. I grew up with DC Comics. I grew up with DC animated shows, and I tweeted this out. I've always looked at DC as like the most forward-looking comic franchise, progressive comic franchise out of Marvel. Like if you're comparing the two, Marvel to me is more status quo and much more centrist, down the line, unoffensive. Whereas besides X-Men, whereas DC to me was much more forward-looking, bold when it came to their kind of character development, character decisions. I'm thinking of Young Justice, for example, if you watch Young Justice recently, or even if you've seen Justice League, the animated series, I feel like there's a very clear message there. Even the DC animated movies, if you watch those. And I just read that slate and I'm like, it is literally all white dudes and all just white chicks. And I read and I saw the DC leaks. I saw the Superman Legacy leaks. And I'm like, I genuinely do not mind with all my heart if they pick like an all white cast. I don't mind. I just think it's kind of weird that they're making that mandatory. And I mean, and to say this in a way where if you've been in casting rooms, which I have, they say we want a white Lois Lane. We want a white Clark Kent, and we want a white Lex Luthor. And I think that's kind of weird. And I'm being honest, where if I saw a variety of Loises, right? If I saw an Asian Lois, a Middle Eastern Lois, I don't know, a European Lois, just a variety of different options for Lois and a variety of different options for Lex, I would be like, okay, but if you see these are the three names we're looking for Clark, and it's three tall white guys, I'm just like, all right, they're clearly not looking anywhere else except for white guys. And I know I'm stepping on people's toes, but again, I got to reiterate, I don't mind. I don't mind if it's an all white cast. I just think they should also look at other races. And I just think it's weird that we saw these casts released and no one has pointed out that out of the 9 names, all of them are white. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that, but that to me is just like, really? We can't look anywhere else for a Lois or for a Clark or for a Lex? Like, have you guys considered an Asian Lex, a black Lex, an Indian Lex? Like, well, anything?
For me, I don't mind Lex being white, because if you're that kind of bad guy who was like
me neither. I don't mind either, but like, I'm just saying, like, they're allowed to look.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, of course they're allowed to look. I mean, hopefully they do look. I mean, I don't think they have. I wouldn't put that past James Gunn, only because we just saw Guardians 3 and High Evolutionary was a great villain. So I'm not gonna say like he's not looking at black actors. I will say I don't know if it's a studio thing. I don't know if it's a mandate thing. I don't know. But I will say this too. I do wish, in talking about having a non-white Superman, look, man, they had a great script. I've never read the script, so I don't know if it's actually great, but they had a great concept and stuff being developed by Tallahassee Coates, one of the greatest writers of our generations. Him developing a Superman script with Michael B. Jordan to be intended like as Superman. Now, even if they decide not to do Michael B. Jordan, which I think that's a mistake. Like, he's one of the biggest stars in the world, and he just had Creed, and that was a hit. So you should start looking at maybe somebody like Michael B. Jordan. But if you're not going to do him, at least maybe still look at that. Pick up that script, take a look at it, and maybe see how that fits. And maybe that's not the story that James Gunn wants to tell. Maybe he's writing his own Superman story, and I get that. But it does definitely come down to it definitely comes down to like, what story are they going to tell? Who are they going to use to tell it? And I hope, at least, listen, I just hope they just don't even if those three core are white, fine. I just hope that, it's not like an all white cast, which again, I don't think James Gunn's that kind of dude. So I'm not going to put that on him.
I don't, if I'm being honest, I don't know. And that's just based on the movies I've seen of his, I just don't know. I just don't know. Because all of his leads are still just white dudes, kind of echoes of him, to be honest. But I just want to reiterate the fact, what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is when you do an open casting, you do an open casting for anyone, right? For example, Rey for Star Wars. This is something I'm very familiar with. Rey was a variety. There was an Indian girl who was up for Rey. Jessica Henwick was almost up for Rey. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her. She was in the Matrix movies. That means that there's an option for not just a white Rey. When you have different options coming out of the casting leaks, seeing that, hey, this person is almost there, seeing that they decided to literally say, we want to find the best person. They're not saying that. We want to find the best white person is what they're saying. And that to me is a little weird when you consider Lois and Lex and Clark. I'm cool with it if they want to do like, hey, it has to be a Midwestern white dude. That's what we want to see is Clark. I'm cool with that. I genuinely am cool with that. But give me a little bit of something. At least look at an Asian Lois or an Asian Lex or, I don't know, Middle Eastern, like whatever. Just, it's not just one race in this world. I don't know why people are obsessed with that. And I think I'm the only one who's pointing this out. So I felt like I had to do it. I'll take the lashes or whatever. But I feel like that's a real thing. When you're in casting rooms, they say, we're not looking for who's the best person. We're looking for who's the best white person. Literally, that's what we're looking for. And I'm just like, do you have to though? Can't we can look elsewhere. I don't mind it just being an all white cast. I'm just saying it doesn't have to be. Yeah, is all I'm trying to say.
I feel you on that, but at the same time, though, I 150% feel like a lot of times when they put out filler names, like that is all for press, PR, like that kind of stuff. And to me, I'd rather them not fake it and not like put some random person of color name out there just for the sake of putting it out there and like lying about it, knowing exactly who they're going to cast. Because at the end of the day, like you're right, Jessica Henwick, all those people, but they did end up casting a white person. That's right. And then they did open casting obviously for the other parts too. But the main star of the Star Wars new trilogy, the main two stars are Kylo Ren and Rey, two white people. So it's like, no matter how open casting you're gonna get, they're still gonna position it the way they want to position it. So I'm not gonna get mad at like if they're just gonna skip the posturing, if they're gonna skip the fake wokeness and just get right to what they really intend. I don't mind that. But if they are genuinely want to cast diverse, please do. Like, I want that. Like, we just saw, we saw Flash, me and Britany. Homegirl is, reprising a role we're not going to talk a lot about, like her role.
Is she reprising a role?
Yeah, it's on IMDb. Yeah, it's on IMDb. So it's like,
okay,
it is. No, it's on IMDb. I checked.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but that's what but at least like we have, like, that's something, but is just having like a, in Justice League, she was just a wave in the camera. Is that enough? Like, are we like, Lois would be a much more significant character. So if they do that, like, definitely go for it. But I don't know. I just don't want it to be fake. My bad. Britany, what are your thoughts? Like,
I can see both of y'all's points, and I'm of the mindset of inherently the story of Superman is an immigrant story, right? So if you are not looking for people that are outside of just, a tall white actor, you're kind of also losing the plot of the actual like story. Like, I don't know. I would also think that it would be an interesting thing to have a Jewish Superman, because even though a lot of people like now try to make it seem like it's more rooted in Christian mythos, that's not the case. The character was written by created by two Jewish men. Him being sent out in the pod is obviously Moses being put in the basket, sent down the river. So I don't know where we turned around with a lot of this Christianity, religious symbolism. So I think too, it would be interesting if you had an actual Jewish actor playing the character of Superman. And obviously you can be Jewish and be many races. So they should be looking at, bunch of different people. But that was one thing that I noticed, like in terms of Superman, what you were saying, Andres, like it does seem like they're going for, like that typical status quo, which again, not necessarily mad at. I kind of assumed that was going to be the case, unfortunately. Even if like they were looking at different people, I think at the end of the day, they would still have cast like, someone like the Corn Sweat or anyone kind of similar to him. But I think in doing that, then, I mean, again, I guess it should be whoever was best for the part, but then perhaps, one of your other main characters like Lois doesn't need to be like your typical, like, white Lois, especially considering that in the comics, her and Wonder Woman be looking a lot alike, and I need some differentiation between them, because like I don't need to see the same people in all these roles. And that was one of the things when they announced the Wonder Woman show, because people were like, oh, is Gal Gadot going to be back as Wonder Woman, whatever. And I'm like, my thought is that they're using the show because essentially they're going to kind of age her out of the character. Once they actually do the show and it's on, like, she's already almost 40, which by no means is old, but in terms of longevity for playing this character who's basically perpetually looks like she's like 35, like that doesn't really work. So I was like, okay. And since Diana, we've seen 2 movies with her. I mean, I would have liked if she had her full trilogy, because that would be nice. But it's not that far removed between us seeing those movies. So I'm kind of like, cool, we know Diana's story. As much as I would have loved to have like the trilogy, I don't necessarily think we need to restart on new Diana. We could have Nubia, who they've been fully like behind. She's had all those like comics recently and all these kinds of things. So I'm like, give us like something. Like,
I think that's my thing.
Yeah. And from what the slate is, it's like, give them the bare minimum. So
I saw the slate and then I saw the leaks and I'm like, all right, there's definitely a voice in that room who's like, this is what we're going for. We're going straight down the line, straight down the middle. Freaking The Bachelor, The Bachelorette, like 85% white. But then, and it's like, why? Why do we have to do this? Why do we have to go backwards when we're DC? The comics that are supposedly the most like edgy comics out of any of them. And it's like, I saw the slate and I'm like, I guarantee it's going to be a cast where it's literally the bare minimum when it comes to looking at other casts. And to kind of counter your point, RB3, when it comes to other cast members in the sequel trilogy, when it comes to the character of Finn, and when it came to the character of Rose, and when it came to other characters, they did look at all types of people. I know because I knew some people who were there. And that to me is casting. When you're casting a character,
see, you are still in the words exactly out of my mouth, because just as you mentioned with The Bachelor, right? It's all white people on The Bachelor. Look at the one season they brought in some black people. They got racially discriminated against. They hated it. They got.
Are you saying that's why they shouldn't do it?
I'm saying that Finn was terrible in the sequel trilogy. I'm saying he was a terribly written character. I love John Boyega. I love him as a person, but the way they handled his character was absolutely malign. The way they handled Rose
only have white people because
no, absolutely
they don't know
not.
how to.
No, but I'm not saying. No, I'm not saying that. See, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that if you're gonna do open casting, fine. But like if you're gonna have open, please do open casting. Encourage people of all races to like cast and everything. But don't just make it the side character who they have think about and throw away to the side. Make it the main character. Make it Superman. Like if we're thinking, I don't care about how many Peter Parker movies are we gonna see? Like when are we finally gonna get Miles Morales movie? That's what I'm saying. Like if it's the supporting cast, I don't care as much about. I do care about like the fact that they had a great script from Tallahassee Coates. That, you know, I think probably was some kind of cool, edgy, new, original story that they just kind of ended up throwing out. Again, it's James Gunn's world now. He's doing what he got to do. And you're right, it is probably going to be some white bro-ness. I mean, like, my criticism from Guardians 3 was, you know, they played that Beastie Boys song and halfway through it was trash. Yeah. You know, it's definitely going to be that. And I hate to see it. But I would like to say, though, listen, if that is the case, make that Diana, make that Amazonian show, make that whole island of Amazonia as non-white women. Make that a whole new, make that almost like the Wakanda stand-in, like where there's a whole island of black people, black women, or, you know, brown women or Asian women who are just like killing and kicking butt. That will be, to me, that is what diversity like really can and should be, when it's like the main focal point, not just, you know, a couple side characters here and there. So that's my thing.
Yeah, I agree, because I'm like, especially after you're mentioning the Wonder Woman series that's supposed to be happening, there is literally a group of Amazons called the Bana Migdal, but you would never know because they always portray Artemis as like, you know, tall, white, red hair, but they're supposed to be like people of color. Like they're like on the island itself, there's like different groupings of Amazons and they're all different. And yes, they come together because, you know, they have like a Senate and they have all these like political type things. But I'm like, that's the kind of stuff that we should see. And obviously in the movie, because it's more focused on Diana, you like, obviously when we see all the different Amazons, there's black women, white women, Asian women, everything in between. But, you know, since it's so Diana focused, you don't get as much of that. It's just, to your point, like in the background, like, okay, it's cool. We know it's there. We know they're diverse, whatever. But if you don't see it, it kind of takes away from any of the importance. And I feel like therein lies the problem with the majority of the writing, because it tends to be most of the time written by white people.
Yeah. But I do feel like, again, I want to reiterate the fact that it's a variety of things that kind of fill my head. Obviously, I don't mind if it's an all white cast. I just don't feel like it has to be. If anyone in the room that literally sits on a throne and says it has to be is tripping. And I'm always say that. I don't care if they're like, whoa, we've looked at statistics and statistically people like more movies when there's white people. It's like, no, bro, that's trash. That's not true.
It's not true.
And you can be a little bit bold and a little bit off kilter. I mean, for all the shit people give freaking Snyder, he cast a giant Samoan guy as Aquaman.
Yeah.
He's like the most, you know, white Aryan coded character in all of comics. And yet he's like, F that. I'm going to cast a big Samoan Hawaiian guy and he's going to be awesome. And it was awesome. And it's one of the biggest movies DC has made. And I feel like that's the kind of casting that no one batted an eye. And yet it was, at that time, it was considered bold. It was considered different. And I feel like you can do that now with new DC. And I just hope they don't shy away from it, because from the slate I've seen, it's like Booster Gold, you know, the Swamp Thing,
right.
Batman. And I'm just like, name me one that's a leading POC. Because you have a lot of POC characters.
They have Wyler. They have that Amanda Wyler show.
Yeah, but she's been here since 2015, bro.
Right, yeah.
I'm talking about new. Give me a new character that's a POC lead. And all I'm saying is, like, I hope we see that, because if you do take your time and watch all the animated shows and read a lot of the comics, that's what is up front. That's what's in your face inside a comic book shop. If you look at a DC comic, it is bold, it is colorful, it is different. And that's all I'm saying I want to see from modern DC is like, please don't fall into this trap. But either way, I'm excited for Superman Legacy. I hope they deliver something special. And I do trust James Gunn when it comes to the emotional heart of a film. I don't necessarily know, like you said, RB3, if I can trust him necessarily when it comes to thinking outside of his own personal box when it comes to his identity of himself and the way he perceives himself or versions of himself. Because I don't know, because I don't think we've seen that yet in any of his films. As good as his films are, I don't think we've seen that. But either way, I'm hyped for it. If there is a DC project that you guys would be looking forward to the most or would want to see the most, a DC character in a TV show or something, do you guys have one?
You got Britany.
I mean, for me, it's Nubia. I mean, as much as I am a Wonder Woman stan, anyone who knows me or you guys follow me on the Twitter, you probably see my like tweets sometimes, angry and otherwise. But as much as I love Diana and, you know, would have liked to have had like the full trilogy, like it's kind of a shame to think that Wonder Woman has been around for so long. We only recently got 2 movies and now it's not going to be a complete trilogy, which sucks. When earlier we were mentioning how many Peter Parkers have we had, and, you know, how many Supermans and Batmans have we had that have had trilogies or had, you know, important things. So I feel like maybe it's not necessarily like anything to do with like the character herself, but since it's been so like it's only a couple of years ago since the last, you know, Wonder Woman movie, and spoiler alert for people if you haven't seen the Shazam movie, like, you know, she has been having cameos and whatever. So I would like to kind of see like a different Amazon kind of. So I would really like to see Nubia, and I have, you know, fan casting ideas in my head.
Can you give us some?
I personally think Lashana Lynch would be great. She was wasted in Captain Marvel. Like, she did a good
Killed
job.
it in Woman King.
Like, yeah, the Woman King. I'm like, and that's like Nubia just is out here.
It is Nubia.
Like getting rid of all these people acting a fool. I'm like, I would like to see it. Like Lashana Lynch is probably like my top pick. I also like Sidel Noel, who was in what is the lady wrestling show that was on Netflix? I can't remember what it was called, but like she's
Glow?
in there, and yes, Glow. And she also was it was very short-lived, but she was one of the Dora Milaje in the first Black Panther, the one who gets killed by Killmonger in that scene where it was him versus the Doras. She's also one of my picks. After watching Obi-Wan, I think, you know, Moses Ingram, give her whatever she wants. So, you know, those would be currently kind of my top 3, I'd say.
That's a good one. How about you, RB3?
I got one character and I got one fan casting. I would go with Static Shock. And we got to get my boy Dorian Parks. Already got the hair. It's already almost there. You know what I mean? Got the bandana. So it's just like, you know, we got to make that happen, y'all. That's it.
That's hysterical, man. Yeah, that's, again, Static Shock. That's a great one for sure. And I think that's I don't know. That's another example of something that they definitely can tap into. And I think it's a great character that you can have. And he's an iconic character already. And you can have Black Lightning come in too, man. I love Black Lightning. I think he's a great character. If you watch Young Justice, you could see a little bit more of his arc too. Or if you watch the show.
I never watched the show, so but shout out my man Bill Duke. He's in that show. So
I remember, just real quick, I just got to tell a story because why not? I'm already going to get off this high horse that I'm on. You know, I got to do one last little trick on the horse before I get off. But I was talking to my mom about the DC slate when it was first released, which was months back, right? And I told my mom, I'm like, Mom, you know, they're doing this, they're doing that. And by the way, they're doing a Green Lantern show. You remember Green Lantern? Because she watched the Justice League show. And she's like, yeah, I love Green Lantern. Jon Stewart is awesome. And I'm like, yeah, so it's going to be him and Hal Jordan. And my mom's like, who's Hal Jordan? And I'm like, oh, Hal Jordan is like one of the OG Green Lanterns, blah, blah, blah. I give her the spiel. And she's like, yeah, but why not Jon Stewart? Why has he got to be in it? And it literally is kind of like, I'm like, well, I don't know, Mom. Like, I guess it's because he's an OG, I guess. And she's like, yeah, but everyone knows Jon Stewart. I think everyone likes Jon Stewart. Why do they got to have the white dude come along to the show? And I was like, low-key bars by my mom. They can't just do a Jon Stewart show. They got to put Hal Jordan in there. And I'm just like, well, yo, I didn't even look at it like that. She's the one who brought it up. And I was like, yikes. I don't know.
It's true though, because
it is true.
Other lanterns to pull from, like even ones that obviously aren't human. Like, so can they just fill it with some of the, you know, alien lanterns? Like, what about also Jessica Cruz, Simon Baz? Like, it didn't to be
those are huge guys. Yeah. The new girl, what's her name? Spectre.
Sojourner.
Yeah, her. And then obviously there's a ton. There's Kilowog, there's Guy Gardner. You can do a variety of Green Lanterns, but to me, Jon Stewart will always be my Green Lantern, just because again I grew up on the animated show. But I think there's so much potential there with that character, and I feel like they should lean into it instead of just being afraid, which I think they are, to be honest. But either way, I'm excited for the DC stuff. I know you wanted to get to some other stuff, RB3 as well. Let me know what you, any other news that you have?
Well, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to, real quick, while we're talking about, like, you know, box office hits, bombs, whatnot, that new film from Robert Rodriguez and Ben Affleck, Hypnotic, unfortunately bombed this weekend. A film that screened at South by Southwest. If you actually, I mean, I haven't watched it yet, but the premise sounds kind of interesting. I was going to check it out on my AMC A-list this week. But the main reason I also want to say this too is because there's also rumors that, like, Alita Battle Angel, or Disney wants to do an Alita Battle Angel sequel, but they don't want to do it without James Cameron directing. They want to have, or they don't want Robert Rodriguez to direct. Essentially, they want James Cameron to direct. So I'm like, dang, man, you know, even though I love my guy James Cameron, it's sad seeing Robert Rodriguez, you know, getting shafted like this. Apparently, this movie had like no advertising budget. The financing of this film in and of itself was like already shoddy. They had to get a bunch of foreign investors to like buy in ahead of time. And then they had to finish the funding with like this last production company that came in at the very end. Real shoddy stuff, man. But, you know, unfortunately, I hate to see movies go down like that. And, you know, I hope Robert Rodriguez is able to pick it back up, you know, career-wise after this move. So.
Yeah, that's definitely a bummer. Obviously, Hollywood is a lot about stock, and his stock considerably went down after Boba Fett. Even though after Alita, I think it went up because a lot of people enjoyed that movie. Most people did, I feel. And people remembered his talent and remembered that he can direct a big movie. And I thought he killed it, man. I think they should give it to him for sure. I think Disney's saying that because they saw Way of Water. And they're like, yo, this guy just makes money. That's all he does, is just make a lot of money. But hopefully they give him a second chance. Any other news, RB3, that you have on your list?
Yeah, man. I mean, I just want to also say too, you know, I mean, shout out to Michael J. Fox. He did an interview lately talking about how obviously a Back to the Future reboot is inevitable, but you know, there's going to be one coming down the line eventually. To me, that's heartbreaking. Back to the Future is one of those seminal pieces of film that I just, you know, watch and love and respect, you know, to the heart, to my fullest. My short film Timestamp, obviously based a lot on time travel stuff. Really a film that set the formula on time travel. And yeah, I just feel like there's better ways to like show homage to classic movies. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we don't have to remake everything. There's could be reimagines. I want to shout out a movie called See You Yesterday on Netflix, produced by Spike Lee, directed by Stefan Brittle. And the reason I'm shouting that movie out because it's a great time travel film that stars black kids, basically some black kids from Brooklyn, time traveling to, basically, you know, stop what keeps happening to black people, stop some police violence and police brutality. So it's a deep film, tough film, great film. And it's actually, we're actually going to be speaking to the director of See You Yesterday on the Real Ones podcast tomorrow, which will be dropping tomorrow morning here on First Cut. Stefan, he talked at length about, doing that film. And Michael J. Fox actually makes a cameo in that film. It's his last film role he ever acted in. So Stefan tells a great story about how Michael J. Fox got involved in that. So be sure to tune in tomorrow for that. But yeah, man, I don't want to see a Back to the Future reboot. You know, that's the main reason why I want to talk about this. I don't think I want to see any more reboots. I know Hollywood loves reboots, but no more, please. No more.
Agreed.
Yeah, I feel like they're oversaturated at this point. But again, we don't know what's going to happen with everything when it comes to production in the next few months. So hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, there's a wake up call coming soon inside the industry in general. Anything that we should be looking forward to, or we should be looking at, Britany?
I mean, obviously, Little Mermaid is coming soon. Fast 10, as I mentioned earlier. Just go watch it for Jason Momoa if you have no other reason to watch it. And I think that's it. I do want to shout out Black Knight on Netflix. So I started watching that. It's a great show. Like, if you are into like sci-fi dystopian kind of thing, it's really interesting. Like, the first episode, like the ending of the first episode, I was just sitting there with like my mouth hanging open. So yeah, it like grabs you like immediately. At least it did for me. I think it's just 8 episodes. But yeah, it's a South Korean sci-fi dystopian thing, and it's really cool.
Oh, wow.
Cool.
Yeah.
I want to shout out the show that I've been rewatching a few times already. Obviously, you can find my review. Star Wars Visions, Volume 2 is incredible. For anyone who has been hesitant to see it, maybe because they're not really into Star Wars or animation, I recommend it. It's very short. It's very easy to watch. They're just literally 10-minute shorts, and they're all very unique and special in their own ways. So I highly recommend it. But either way, yeah, you can also check out my favorite shorts after you check out the I just posted that video on the channel. After you watch the season, you can check out my favorite shorts in my review up here on the channel at First Cut. But Britany, where can everyone find you?
So I'm on Twitter at Britany, BRITANY _Murphs, MURPHS. Same with Instagram. All of my social media is literally Britany _Murphs. And then obviously Geeks of Color. Lately, I've just been mostly editing things and a couple of interviews here and there. And then I have my own site, musesofmedia.ca, so you can find me there.
Also, I forgot to mention, aren't you like a Big Barda fan too? Don't you like Big Barda and the Furies and all them?
I do love Big Barda and the Furies.
I want to see Big Barda, man.
Yes, that Batman, Superman, Apocalypse. Like, I mean, I don't know if I 100% love like that section of the comic runs, but I did like that they kind of incorporated Michael Turner's art style in the actual like animated version. But yeah, all those scenes like with Barda and Wonder Woman fighting the Furies, like give this to me in live action, which again, we would have been close to probably getting it with Ava DuVernay doing the New Gods.
That's right.
That did not happen, but again.
Big Barda and Mr. Miracle, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we need it, man. We need Big Barda in our lives.
Exactly.
And I'll be Mr. Miracle. RB3, what were you gonna say, man?
Real quick, just wanted to shout out the chat. Thank you so much to the 4 people watching right now, still left. That we did a peak at 9, so we did have 9 people who tapped in. Thanks for everybody who watched. Shout out to Joseph Leaks. First Cut crew has been too long. Let's go. Zeno Hour said I 100% agree with RB3. I think we were talking about stuff earlier. I think the support was from agents getting their client's name out there. This is all from Zeno Hour, by the way. James Gunn recently said that Coates' Superman film is still being written. So, okay, maybe we'll still see that sometime down the line. Maybe it's that whole multiple Superman thing. I don't know. Zeno Hour also said Henry Golding for DCU Batman. That would be actually kind of fun. It would be kind of cool if they went in an Egyptian direction because isn't the younger Robin now these days like Damian
Wayne?
Yeah, Damian Wayne. Isn't he like Egyptian or something?
Yeah, he's an Al Ghul. So he's what, like half Middle Eastern, half Asian.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should
he's
go,
both.
They should do that. They should go with like an Asian Bruce Wayne and an Asian Robin. That'd be fun. Zeno Hour, 2 more. He said, my favorite Green Lantern is still Kyle Rayner. That's the redhead. And lastly, he said, take care, y'all. So thank you. Thank you, Zeno. Thank you.
Kyle Rayner is a dark hair Mexican homie.
Wait. No, my bad. Not Cal Rayner. Yeah. Cal Rayner.
Kyle Rayner, yeah. Guy Gardner is the redhead homie.
Okay, that's right.
But
okay.
Xeno Hour, either way, man, appreciate you. You were locked in.
Yeah, the whole time. Let's go. Listen.
Locked in the whole time, man. Appreciate it. So we'll get to your chats next time. But either way, Britany, we'll have to have you on next time as well. We could talk X-Men and other stuff as well. But appreciate you coming on. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram and TikTok at Squad Leader Race, and us at First Cut TMO as well on TikTok. And make sure you guys follow us here at the channel. Any final thoughts, RB3?
Check out Real Ones podcast dropping tomorrow morning 8 a.m. and check out, we had the sweepstakes going for some free Blu-rays, man. People ain't tapping in. Go and listen to our giveaway video and figure out how you can get some free Blu-rays headed your way.
Either way, guys, for the First Cut crew, we're gonna be peacing out, so peace. Deuces.
Sorry, y'all. One more thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to stop the show like that. Me and Danny Fernandez did a short film together. It's at the LA Latino International Film Festival, and it will be showing June 2nd in Los Angeles. Everybody, make sure, if you're watching this, it's in the link in my bio. It's on Twitter right now, so make sure y'all, if y'all are in LA, June 2nd, check out the movie me and Danny Fernandez did. Thank y'all. Sorry.